Today we're joined by Booktopia's founder, Tony Nash. It took Tony 3 days to sell his first book online. Now he sells one every 8 seconds. His secret? Many. But a major one is to focus on the sales, not the bills. Now, let's go and find out the rest.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid. However, so much more importantly, you're a motivated business owner and you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. That's what we do around here. Marketing is the oxygen. It's the lifeblood of your business. So good on you for tuning in to figure out how you can better do it. Hey, big show today. As I said, Tony Nash, founder of Booktopia. It's Australia's largest online book retailer with revenues of $87 million, 125 employees, and a Telstra Business Award winner. Hey? Got to love that. Got a motivational quote that will have you reviewing your products and services like you've never reviewed them before. That's it, because I just want to get stuck into some marketing gold, which is brought to you by Net Registry, who care about one thing, by the way, getting your online marketing sorted. They can sort you out with domain names, hosting, web design, whatever it is. netregistry.com.au/Timbo is where you should go and check them out. We're also made possible by the Key Person of Influence program, which, whilst being a wacky name, can have you becoming more visible. We'll say that again, hey? We won't edit that out. We'll just go with it. But they'll make you more visible, more valued and connected in your industry. And you can check them out over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo because they've got some wonderful events coming up, which I understand Brisbane is sold out. How nuts is that? As per usual, marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser. Or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
Hey, first of all, thank you to everyone who supported Daniel Flynn's Thank You campaign and continues to support it. If you haven't bought his book, if you don't know what I'm talking about, have a listen to the last episode where I interview him about his new campaign. Inspirational guy, great book. Head over to thankyou.co. You'll find out more. Last episode was also episode 300. And I had a few peeps sort of say, hey, Timbo, why didn't you celebrate? Well, I'll tell you why. And I think there's a marketing learning here. I celebrated not by going, hey, episode 300, streamers, balloons, firecrackers, all that type of stuff. I celebrated by bringing you another great episode to help grow your business. Hey, to me, that is celebration. No fanfare, no hoo-ha. I just wanted to continue to maintain a level of quality, and for me, that's celebration. Do you care that it was episode 300? I don't think so. You care about growing your business. And if you don't care that it was episode 300, then I don't think I should. So here's the little learning. When creating helpful marketing, which is what my book talks about, the boomerang effect, don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at number of episodes or downloads or views or comments or shares. Ignore it all, right? If you're going to look at it, don't attach yourself to it. Don't let the scoreboard define you. If I let episode 300, hey, I've done 300 episodes, how good am I, define me, I mean, that's just fraught with danger. So don't attach yourself to it. Instead, rely on creating unbelievably helpful marketing. Marketing that will make your customers more informed so that they can make a more informed purchase decision, more likely than not in your favour. The rewards that will come are amazing in ways that you never imagined. More sales, more customers, yes, but other things as well. You just don't know what they're going to be. That's what I call the boomerang effect, and that's me practicing it. So no 300 episode hoo-ha, just continue to create great content. You with me? After all, 300 is just a number, yeah? So you want to learn more about that? go and buy my book, The Boomerang Effect. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, click on the beautiful yellow cover, and I'll send it to you. Righto, let's get stuck into today's guest. Now, listener Tim Nutman, Nut as he calls himself, emailed me with the idea of interviewing this fellow. Tim writes, the reason for the email is to suggest you interview Tony Nash of Booktopia. They have just turned 12 years old. This week I received an email from them that shared the story of their humble beginnings. Part of that email said, and it's just interesting stuff, he says, 12 years ago I launched Booktopia. This is from Tony Nash in his email to his crowd, his tribe. 12 years ago I launched Booktopia one evening on a budget of $10 per day. It took 3 days to sell the first book. We now have 125 employees, have 750,000 items in stock, sell one item every 8 seconds, and are considered one of Australia's leading online retailers. Pretty impressive stats there. So I rang our resident online business expert, Paul Greenberg from the National Online Retailers Association, to see if Tony would live up to all the hype, because I have heard very good things about Tony Nash prior to getting this email from the listener. And here's a bit of what Paul had to say.
I like Tony. He's different. He's certainly a bit esoteric. But, there's a strong sense out there in retail land that, A, differentiation is important. B, authentic connections with your customers and your team are the new Eldorado. You can't fake it anymore. You've got to be the real deal. And, of course, the old mantra, if you can't sell it on the inside, you can't sell it on the outside. And Tony's a passionate a guy on personal development and good communication skills. So, look, I think he's an interesting bloke. He's done a great job with Booktopia. As I once said to him, Tony, this is a business like the bumblebee that shouldn't technically fly against the likes of Amazon and some of the bigger players. But maybe he's not only flown, he's soared. I mean, they've thrived and driven along. He's well invested in supply chain. They've got a terrific facility. He understands the importance of automation and efficiencies in the new retail milieu. So I give Tony a pretty strong scorecard.
So there you go. As you can hear, thank you, Paul, by the way, Tony sounds like a very interesting fellow. And I can promise you, in this fireside chat you're about to hear with Tony, he does not let us down. I started off by asking him, is he an avid reader?
No.
Love it. I half expected that, because I had Nathan Huppatz on the show recently from costumes.com.au, and he has no regard for costumes.
Look, the thing about reading, or the thing about being an entrepreneur and reading, is that your brain needs to settle to get stuck into a book. And so when I read, I could read 3 or 4 books on a holiday, and I do. But during the working week, my mind is too focused, and when I'm not spending time with my wife and kids, then I work late at night, and it's just impossible. I'll put the TV on and just watch a movie, something just to settle myself, rather than sit down with a book.
Are you a workaholic?
No, I'm just very passionate about working. I'm passionate about many things. So what I do well, and I do it hard, and I enjoy it. And so I think some people might refer to me as a workaholic, but quite frankly, as the business has grown, I've been able to work less and less in the business, and therefore others have picked up where I've left it, and they've run with the business. So I'm working less hours these days than I did in the beginning, that's for sure.
How many hours a week would you work?
I think now probably 50.
50, okay. And you said you work less and less in the business, which I guess means you work more and more on the business. We hear that a lot. Like it's a phrase that, often you hear from stage. You got to work more on your business than in it. What does that mean for you?
Well, in the old days, if we needed to get books out the door, I'd be down in the warehouse helping out, scanning books, packing books, doing what I can to get product out the door. Now that we have a fully automated distribution center with conveyors and teams of people going everywhere, they don't allow me in there, and so I can't work in the business in that area.
You have no choice. Why don't they let you in there? Do you get in the way? Are they scared of you? What's the story there?
No, I think they do feel when I'm down there and I'm perhaps helping out moving things around or at the end of the packing line, they go, it's great to see the boss down here and pitching in, but there's just enough people there now. And it's like in the old days when we had Christmas and things got really, really busy, I could like work back at night and I could work all the way through the night. And when the team arrived in the morning at 6 a.m, I'd be still there helping out. And I made a difference. Now there is literally 20,000 books leaving our distribution center in a day.
Wow.
And I can't, it's a drop in the ocean, and I could simply work through the night and they wouldn't even know the difference, because then a team of 60 people come in and they just get stuff done so much faster. So I just simply cannot do anything there these days to make that impact anymore.
Do you look back in those old days, Tony, with a level of joy, or do you think, oh my God, I'm so glad we're through that?
I don't think of it in terms of joy. I'm so glad we're through that. I think you honour it and you say, that was our baptism of fire. That was what we had to get through to get to here. We could not be where we are today had we not done that. So there's a lot of I guess, regard and honouring that part of the process.
Does that mean farewelling what was a whole lot of pain and just plain hard work? Do you mean, do we all have to go through that to get to a level of success?
No, it was for us. I mean, the thing about books is it's a very, very complex and hard business. There's 14 million active SKUs, active individual products, of which we keep 4 million on our website.
There's 14 million and one starting next week because my book comes out, just so you know that.
There you go. Although one was put out of print in the meantime, so therefore you've taken another spot in the database somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So there's 14 million active. We keep 4 million on our site, of which about 100 at the moment, as we speak now, which is 115,000 in stock SKUs.
In stock,
yeah. And we got 10,000 square meters here, and for those that are in America listening to this, that's 100,000 square feet.
What's that the size of? Can you just paint that picture for us, please?
2 football fields. So that's 2 rugby, 2 NFL, 2 soccer fields.
Unreal. I want to get stuck into understanding the Booktopia business, but I do want to understand why. Why did you start it back in 2004? What was the book-selling landscape like then, and what made you leave a human resources career to start Booktopia?
Okay, so we just better paint the picture there, because I started in IT as a programmer.
As a geek?
In the 80s. And then I got into selling computers because I wasn't a very good programmer and I was more of a salesman. And then when I traveled around the world and ended up in London, I got into recruitment and a recruitment agency, and I was in recruitment for 14 years. And it was in the mid-90s when I set up my first company, which was a recruitment agency in the front room of my house on the internet. And in those days, when I would tell people I'm an internet recruitment agency, the first question I got asked was, what's the internet?
What's that?
So I had to explain the internet. And then that business grew, and I convinced my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law to join me, and together we built that company up to about 35 people, and we sold that in 2001 because we had built some chat software for our recruitment company, so we could chat to people while they're at their desks and they didn't have to run out on their mobile phone, and we could have a secure and encrypted session about a job. And that then led us to people wanting us to put that software on their websites. Could have been a shop, could have been a government department. And so we ended up with a software company, and we left recruitment in 2001. And pretty much the month after we did that, there was a huge .com crash that we got caught up in, and our business was going to go under.
Ouch.
And in desperation to survive, I said to a web designer, Google's been going for a few years now. How do you get to the top of Google? Because if we were at the top of Google when someone did a search for, say, chat software or live help, maybe we'd make a few more sales. And the guy told me what to do. And, of course, it was in the early days. It was a lot easier than it is now. We got to the top of Google, and didn't take long for me to have a conversation with somebody about getting chat software on their website, and they said, look, I'd love to chat to people. I just need more people coming to our site. And so I did a project for them for $500. They were very happy. Not long after, I had another similar conversation with a much bigger company. So instead of putting a proposal in for $500, because we were such in dire straits because of the dot-com crash, we were talking about going back and getting permanent jobs, I put a proposal in for $18,000. I spoke to the guy for an hour on the phone about all the things we were going to do for his website and driving traffic and how it was going to transform his business. And at the end of the hour, he said, all right, let's do it. And I put down the phone and I turned to my family. I said, man, we're in big trouble now. We have no idea what we're doing.
We've got to deliver.
Yeah. So from daybreak to midnight, we just learnt the art of driving traffic into websites. And very, very quickly, we became one of Australia's leading online marketing consultancies. And we didn't go for the big end of town like the banks and the insurance companies, because back in 2002, 2003, there were already actually companies out there doing SEO and internet marketing. And so we just stuck to small to medium-sized enterprises.
Just remind me, Tony, back then, what was the secret sauce? So was that backlinking, or what were you don't need to go into detail, but what were you doing?
To me, there's four fundamental things that have not changed over all those years. There's complexities, but one is you've got to have the words on the page. So if you're an electrician and you want to be found for, let's just say, I don't know, the eastern suburbs of Sydney, if you don't have those words on your website, you won't come up in Google. So you've got to have the words on the page. That's number one. Two, size does matter on the internet. So if you're a website and you're an electrician and you've got a website that's, say, 4 pages, and then there's another guy in the eastern suburbs of Sydney is an electrician and he's got a website that's 400 pages because he's got all these how-to, and if this happens and that happens, and maybe there's, I don't know, areas that he operates in or customers that he's built this website up, Google's going to go, that guy on that subject matter is more of an expert.
He's more helpful.
Right. So words on the page, size of your site. Number 3 is who's linking to you. So, which is what you said before, backlinking. So if you're an island and nobody is linking to you, then you will not be referred to on the net. You won't have any links. In fact, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, who started Google, they're PhD students, and they use a common principle that's used when writing a PhD, is that at the end of your thesis, there's always a thing called a bibliography. Now, they use the premise that if everyone's doing all these PhDs and doing all these theses or whatever it's called, you will refer to books or papers that you got your information from. And so if there's many, many papers being written that are all referring to this one article, one can assume that article must be the most important of them all, and there's some hierarchy there. And they use that as their way of being able to organize which sites can appear at the top. Now, in the beginning, of course, there was all this spamming of backlinking and creating backlinking. Google got better. They said, no, you can't have irrelevant links. They need to be industry links. So for example, if you're an electrical contractor, you've got a link from the Association of Electrical Contractors, and they're linking to you, it's a relevant link. But if you've got a link from the hairdresser down the road where you did an electrical job, they don't see that as relevant. So, 1, words on the page. 2, size of your site. 3, linking, and make sure that the whole of the internet is linking to you as best as you can. Where it's relevant. And 4, one that they never really describe, but it's common sense, that there's the thing called the bounce rate. So if Google serves up some results, Sydney, electrical contractor, eastern suburbs, I don't know, something like that, someone does a search, and they click through to the top or second or third listing, and they go to that website, but then they come straight back because when they went there, it was more of an info site. They wanted a real electrical contractor. Google remembers that, and they go, no one wants that page. So it starts to move further and further down the results. And then the ones that they clicked and they stayed there, that must be relevant. So the 4 things: words on the page, size of the site, backlinking, and bounce rate.
And what's really interesting, Tony, is that's what you were applying back when you got the $18,000 contract, and it's still absolutely relevant today. I interviewed Rand Fishkin from Moz a number of months ago, and you've ratified pretty much what he said. I mean, this is not... It can be complicated. It's simple, but it's complicated, if you know what I mean. It's pretty obvious what you need to do to rank well. And Booktopia, let's get back there, is ranking unbelievably well. So you do your online marketing business, and then at some point you've gone, geez, we have mastered the art of driving traffic to other people's websites. We should do it for our own. Let's start selling books. Was that the kind of thing?
Actually not. What happened was... My brother won the project to work on the Angus and Robertson website.
Oh, overseas listeners, Angus and Robertson, one of the biggest book retailers we used to be in Australia.
Yeah, so they were turning over, I don't know, 170 million. They had bought the Borders business in Australia. They were, and this is okay, but this was before they bought Borders. So this was in 2003, and so now they've been going for 130 years. So back then, 120 odd years, and so we did the job for them. And back in those days, Angus and Robertson did not manage their website and did not fulfil their orders. They had a franchise model, so they could keep their website at a bit of arm's length. And it was in the early days of the net, so nobody really knew what was going to happen. And so we did the job for Angus and Robertson, and Angus and Robertson outsourced their website and fulfillment to a company on the lower north shore of Sydney that manage their site, and they manage Collins Books, Shearer's Bookshop, Leading Edge Books. They did about 80 bookstores' websites. And so we did the job for one of that company's customers, being Angus and Robertson. And in Christmas of 2003, we approached them and said, hey, remember the good job we did for Angus and Robertson? Why don't you introduce us to all your other 80 customers?
Nice.
We'll get them all to the top of Google and you'll make lots of money.
Yeah.
And the owner of the company said, no, not interested. And I said, you're not interested in making more money? He said, look, it's not our business. Our business is managing websites, managing bookstore websites and fulfilling those orders. And then I said, well, how does it all work? And explained it takes 10 minutes to set up a store. If you give us the name of your bookshop, then we'll have a website with 1 million books on there. And if you sell anything, we'll pay you a commission. And I said to the owner, I said, wow, that sounds really interesting. And the guy says to me, yeah, but no internet-only business has made anything out of it. It's all been off the back of a traditional store that wanted a website. And I said, fair enough. So I went away from that meeting and I said to my brother on our way to our little 60-square-metre office in North Sydney, I wouldn't mind giving that book thing a bit of a go.
Yeah, right.
Now going back to one of the things you said before, very early on, you asked me, I said, when I started in 2004, I actually started, would you believe, on February 4th, 2004, which is fact the same day that Facebook started, which I did not know, of course, at the time, but it was only on our 10-year reunion or 10-year anniversary that they were celebrating on the same day, their 10-year anniversary, that I worked out that we actually started on the same day. Right. So numerologically, there must have been a great day to start a business.
You were destined.
But people said to me back then in 2004, what the hell do you want to start a bookstore for? There's Borders, there's Amazon, there's Angus and Robertson, there's Dymocks. You're too late.
But they're referencing bricks and mortar bookstores, aren't they?
Yeah, but what people say to me now is lucky you got in early.
Yeah.
So it's just a mindset, isn't it? In terms of how you see things on the day. So, in fact, today, if you're starting your online store today, in 50 years from now or 100 years from now, people will be saying, it's lucky you got in the early years. But people still thinking it's gone, the beginnings. It's not.
Tony, that is music.
It's just your mindset.
Can I just because I heard a quote, it's a couple of years ago now, from Jeff Bezos of Amazon, who said Amazon is in day one of year one. And we all think, wow, Amazon's one of the most advanced companies in the world. But here's the owner saying that. And I get real comfort from that because, people talk to me about podcasting or video marketing and they go, it's too late to start a podcast, too late to start an online. It's like we are going to look back and we are in such the early throes of this whole internet thing, yeah?
I think one of the things that you just touched on, and I will, given the kind of people that are listening to your podcast, and from what you described to me before we started, when I first started my very first company in 1996, and I was a recruitment agency, at the end of every month or the beginning of every month, I was sick in the stomach because of all the bills I had to pay. Like I could just see them. There was the phone bill, there was the internet bill, there was the staffing, and so I could not sleep. I felt sick in the stomach. And what I did at that time is I could see the bills. I could see the bills sitting there. And I was focused on the bills. And if you can imagine in your mind as you listen to me now that if something was on a linear, so if something was on a line where at one end of the line there was the bills, and down the other end of the line, going in the other direction, was sales. What I did was instead of looking and focusing down let's just say down the road at the bills, I turned around and I looked up the other way of the road where all the sales were. And when I focused on the sales and just focused on the sales, the bills took care of themselves. And it was such a transformational shift that the money started flowing through because I was just focusing on the sales and I was generating, how many sales do I need to get this month? I need to get this many. Great. That'll take care of the salaries. That'll take care of the wages. And so I never had to worry. And then, of course, I did one thing even better is I hired my brother who was financial, and he had to worry about the bills, and I never had to worry about them ever again.
That is wonderful advice. In fact, I could be accused of every now and then looking at the bills too much, and I have a friend who every now and then taps me on the shoulder, Tony, and says, Timbo, think abundance. We live in an abundant world. And I actually love that concept. It's a bit woo-woo, but he's right. The money's there. You got to focus on it and the sales. Hey, listeners, I am talking to Tony Nash. He is the founder of Booktopia, Australia's largest online book retailer by a long shot. Before I ask him about where the business is at now, here's a couple of words from our wonderful sponsors. This show is made possible by Key Person of Influence, which according to the Huffington Post is the world's leading brand accelerator program. Now they've got some very cool one-day events coming up with some amazing speakers. So I asked head honcho Glenn Carlson to pick his favourite. His answer may well surprise you.
That's horrible, mate. I'm going to have to say, while there's Matthew, who's built, the third fastest growing company in Australia, sold it for tens of millions. Valerie is obviously one of the best content creators in Australia, talking about profile. Tim, his company's built over $1 billion worth of value in his clients. Andrew Griffiths, 12 best-selling books. But, mate, I'm the MC. I'm the one that brings it all together. So, despite all these amazing speakers that have got incredible tenure in their space, I'm gonna say my favourite's got to be me.
Oh, you got to love a big cheese that backs himself. All jokes aside, do your business a favour and grab a $57 seat over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Support for this show comes from Net Registry, a one-stop shop for getting your online marketing sorted. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, recently told me this story of a very happy mechanic.
So one of my favourite stories of customers that I heard was a salesperson was talking to a mechanic, and he was talking about what sort of email he would like to have and what kind of hosting, whether he wants cloud or cPanel hosting. And the mechanic just said, look, I don't care, build my website, here's my phone number, make my phone ring and send me the bill. And that was the last we heard of him. He didn't provide us content. He didn't provide us any details about his business. We had his contact details. We wrote all the content and we just got his phone ringing and sent him the bill.
Net Registry, where happy mechanics go to grow their business online. Visit netregistry.com.au or give them a buzz on 1300 638 734. And tell them Timbo sent you. Okay, Tony, so let's talk about where Booktopia is today, because from those humble days of you down on the factory floor packing books, there's some rather big numbers that, I don't know, what can you share with us?
So today we have 125 staff. We've had 12 years of 30 to 40% growth every year. We are now going to turn over in this financial year, which finishes in Australia at the end of June, $82 million in revenue, up from 52 million last year. We bought Angus and Robertson last year. We bought a camera business as well last year, small one, only turning over 2 or 3 million, a small one, but we want to grow that. And we have won Telstra Business Awards in Australia. We've been the only company ever to make the BRW Fast 100 for 6 years in a row. No one's ever achieved that before. And this year we're preparing to list on the Australian Stock Exchange. Now, we don't know whether that's going to happen. All we're doing is the preparation work to see if we can do that. There's so many factors that come in, the market, the appetite for online retail, whether people feel that we're worthy of their money. There's many, many factors, but we're going through the process right now of preparing for that.
Tony, my research tells me you're not a humble guy, so I don't want a humble answer here. You've just ripped off some wonderful numbers. 125 staff. You occupy a huge amount of real estate. I think your turnover was increasing 30 million in the last 12 months to 82 million. Mate, how does that make you feel? Seriously.
How it feels to me is that if you were a Formula One racing car driver and you did the best maneuver of your life, you overtook Lewis Hamilton on a tough corner and you went past him straight down the straight, the amount of time that you get to reflect on that or feel how good that was is almost instantaneous, because you are now still driving down the straight, going for the next corner and trying to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish. So when I think about it, there's no time to sit back and go, wow, look what we've accomplished, feel those feelings. I still feel very much present into the fact that we're not at our destination, and maybe Jeff Bezos thinking that we're day one of year one, perhaps that, but I'm very much grounded by the fact that we're not there yet, and that feeling keeps me focused and on whatever the next horizon is, or the mountain range that we're about to climb.
So does that, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but are you unable to stop and give yourself a big hug?
I don't permit myself to do that yet.
When?
I think possibly when we've IPO'd, when we've listed on the stock exchange, there'll be, I've moved on to the next phase of my working life, whatever that may be. It's still, I just don't feel yet that we've got there yet. So therefore, let me put it to you like this, because I think this is really important to understand from my observation of others and also of myself. There's a thing what I call the entrepreneurial mindset. And what that is to me is that for example, there was about 4 or 5 years ago, we started our ebook program, selling ebooks on the internet. And we used Google as our strategic partner to list the ebooks. And we did a fantastic job using them. There were 2 companies in Australia that were chosen to use it. It was Dimmix and Booktopia. And we were quite small back in those days to be nominated or selected as one of the 2 to go with Google. We did a fantastic job. We were making great money, great sales, but no one else in Australia and no one else around the world was making anything of it. And after about 9 months of going live, I get a phone call from Google to say, Tony, I've got the worst possible news. I said, what's that, Mark? He goes, we're shutting down the Google retail ebook program. And I said, oh, okay. And I go, why is that? And he explained that no one else is making money, and you guys are doing a great job, but we just can't sustain this model anymore. And there was silence, and he goes, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, Mark, the only reason you're telling me this is because there's a better opportunity waiting for us around the corner. So when things come at you, and they will when you're in business, things that you weren't expecting, things that were you might seem as a hurdle or a blockage or something, you've got to be able to say, bring it on. So what I do is I clip my highs, which is what you were talking about before. I don't get as excited, or when we won the Telstra Business Awards, we celebrated a little, but I didn't. The next day I was back to business. So you soften your highs and you soften your lows. So you don't ride this huge, like a roller coaster. Imagine going high up and feeling the high, then something happens, I'm down on the bottom, and I'm at, and what happens, what I've noticed in the past before I had this kind of mindset was that I didn't want to feel feelings of being at the bottom. And so I would be putting a handbrake on to keep myself away out of feeling being at the bottom. And what would happen is I would lose my momentum. So you get more of a, you get momentum. You go, okay, I'm going to feel this now. I feel the negativity. I feel the grief. I feel the loss of whatever happened. And then you go up the other side. If you can imagine that line, that curved line of the roller coaster, now not being so high and so low, and you're just kind of traveling through time, going a little high, a little lows. It's probably like being in Holland versus being in the Himalayas.
Yeah, right.
Is that the distance traveled is much shorter. So if you want to sustain yourself in business, if you want to be able to get up and keep going every day, you soften your highs and you soften the lows. And so you don't have to, and that's the entrepreneurial mindset for me. You're able to be robust, you're able to be mentally available, make good decisions, think positively, thinking that when something happens to you unexpectedly, it goes, oh, right, you're seeing whether I'm got the balls or the guts to take this on, bring it on. And this has happened many times. When someone comes to me and they say to me, I'm resigning, and that could be someone who's been with you for many years, a lot of people say, oh, God, oh, my God, I'm losing that person. For me, when they come and sit down in front of my desk and say I'm resigning, I go, wow, where are you going to next?
Yeah, right.
Because there must be something more exciting than here, and you've been able to use us as a conduit to further your career.
Nice.
And then someone else incredible is going to come into the role because we've got a great company that people want to join, and you can move it. And so
Nice.
It's another example of being able to be able to ride the roll with the punch it.
Less exhausting. You're in there for the long haul. Can we talk, Tony? Let's drill down into marketing, because I buy a lot of books online. I love, and thank you for continuing to sell real books, because as much as I live in a virtual world, I've been a podcaster for 7 years. The idea of reading a book on a Kindle does my head in, so I do love to hold the book. So when I go to buy a book, and I did this last week, a friend of mine said, you got to get this book. So I go to Google, I key in, buy the name of the book, and up comes the various options on page one. I'm not loyal to... I am loyal to an online Australian book retailer, but I'm not loyal to any particular one, right? It might come from, I think it's a Goldfish or Booktopia, or there's a couple of other ones.
Fish Pond's New Zealand.
Okay, Fish Pond. I thought it was Australian.
They're New Zealand.
Okay, so your challenge, and I'm guessing I'm not alone. How do you build loyalty?
I say there's two parts there. One is, of course, being at the top of Google and getting the traffic.
Yep.
And then the next is when they come to your site and converting them into a customer. And then the next part is, of course, to deliver the product as promised or as desired. So there's quite a few components.
Can I add, one thing that annoys me is that I find, like, if I'm buying 2 or 3 books, and again, I can't remember which site it is, but one will say, oh, that one's coming from England, and that one's coming from New Zealand, and this one's coming from Melbourne. They all arrive in different parcels at different times. That does annoy me, I must say. I'm guessing, given you hold so many SKUs, that would happen less with Booktopia.
Yeah, 90%. So we have 4 million products on our site, of which, as I said, at the moment, it's about 120,000 are in stock. And of those, 90% of everything that we sell comes out of the stock titles. So 100-odd thousand is 90%, 3.9 million is the remaining 10%. So mostly it's out of the stock, because we know through our algorithms that what people are ordering and what they like to order, and we focus on those.
Right.
Those other companies hold no stock, and they put the orders out to all of those international suppliers, and they say, someone bought a book from me, can you ship it to them? And then they get a little click along the way.
Gotcha. So back to my question, how do you hold that loyalty? How do you build that loyalty?
So there's a few things. One, of course, is when you have it in stock and you deliver it very, very quickly, people notice that and they tell their friends. So, and I noticed this about 4 or 5 years ago when I go to America to do my trips to learn as much as I can learn. In the world of online book retailing, probably in others as well, but in books, especially when you can order an ebook within seconds, if you don't have that product with that customer within a day or two, it's game over.
Yeah.
So I realized when I came back from that trip, and I think we had probably around 10, 15,000 stock titles, I came back and I said, guys, we have to hold more stock. And before we moved to this big facility, when we were in another suburb, we were much smaller. We had 58,000 titles squished into that 2,000, 4,000 square meters that we had. We've now doubled that in the last 18 months. And so holding the stock is really, really important. And that then gives people the confidence, hey, I can order from an Australian company. They can get it to me extremely quickly. And that's very, very important. So prices also comes into play. We've never wanted to be the cheapest, because if you always say you're going to be the cheapest, it's just a spiral down to by 1 cent pieces all the way down to the bottom. And so you've got to be able to do other things. So for us, by adding, where we add our value is we put our phone number on our website. We've got about, I think it's around 20 people now in our call center here in Sydney who can take calls, talk about an order, talk about a book, work with the ebook download. You can't do that with Amazon. You just can't look at their website and go, okay, now where's your number? I'm just going to call somebody and in my country and deal with it. So we knew that where we add value was in the phone calls and having the number on our site. And we've done that from day one when we first, even when we were doing internet marketing and we used the other company, we still had our number, not their number, which they did have a number that people could ring. It was our number because it was our customer. And so having the phone number, having the stock, having a great website, of course, and to be able to find what you're looking for, and having great browse and discoverability, discovering books that you never thought of before is very important. For us also, our social, so a lot of Twitter, blogging. We've got journalists that work for us who are writing content, specific content for the book industry, who are book people, who are passionate about books. We've been doing that for many, many years, because otherwise you're almost just like an online catalog. It's almost like an online mail order service. So if you don't come across that, you know which books to be at the top. For example, if you're going to build a business based on your sales, these are the most popular products that we sell. When a new book comes out, your book, for example, Tim, and had no success, no sales history, but our guys in merchandising go, hold on a second, that's a terrific business book. That should be right on the front page. And without any sales history, a book expert, someone who's passionate about books, knows how to organize their bookstore, which we have people who are doing that. So they don't we do have algorithms working in the background, but they are there when our guys can't get to all of the categories because there's over 4,000.
How do I do that? This is a specific question, and right now it's all about me, Tony. I've self-published my book. How do I go and get it onto a site like Booktopia?
You need to find with us and the big guys, you'll need to get someone who's going to distribute it for you. So,
yeah, right.
Because our computers need to talk to their computers to say that we ordered it. A lot of people are self-publishing, but you're an island and you're not going to be able to tap into our computer systems to be able to make sure that the reordering is all automatic, because we don't hold any more stock than we need. We've got over $4 million worth of stock, and we were able to do that by running algorithms that say we can get this product from our supplier by this amount of time, so don't hold any more than we need. One of the other things we never mentioned before, while I just think of it, is we've never had any external investment. So getting to $82 million worth of sales, people might say, oh, yeah, those companies, they got money from here, they got money from there.
Yeah, venture capitalists.
Look, and they serve their purpose, but you're always selling down your equity. If you bring those people on, you're going to give away part of the farm to somebody else to get where you want to get to. We didn't. We just sold more books so we could hire more people, write more software, hold more stock, and build the business. It's all been built off generating more sales.
So what's the appeal of going public?
To me, I think it's the best way of putting Booktopia's hands in the future owners of our business, and that's the book buying public of Australia, as well as, of course, institutional investors. I think that we've got still a long way to go, as Amazon has, and that our our goal to get to 250 million turnover, 500 million turnover, et cetera, is there for the taking. And I think by going to that, we can still do it on our own, but I think it's time now to allow others to participate in our growth as well. And I think we're at that point because we've built it up enough that we can take a little money off the table and still be very much still in the game ourselves. We haven't sold down along the way, so there's enough for us to be able to sell and still not feel like we've got nothing left of the company.
Tony, how far into the future have you looked for a business like Booktopia? I mean, what does an online bookstore look like in, I don't know, you tell me, 10 years, 20 years?
Thing about online book selling. First of all, you have to answer the fundamental question, which is, will physical books still be around? And
yes.
We believe they will. So there'll be ebooks and there'll probably be a lot more being sold than there are today, but there's still a lot of physical books being sold. So if you're going to be a book retailer, you better be doing both. You better be doing physical and digital, which we do. And you take someone like Amazon, they also do. But then you look at Apple, who've got the iBook store, they're only doing digital. Google, with their ebooks, they're only doing digital. And the consumer, and like you were talking before about yourself when you were shopping online, you don't necessarily in the beginning think about how you want to consume it. You're thinking about the author, you're thinking about a title, you're thinking about a genre or a category or a subject matter. Then you go, oh, I found something. And then you go, oh, I wonder how I can read that. And they've actually got it in hardcover, which you like because you like to keep your hardcovers on the shelf. They're very important to you. Or you like to read it in a paperback. You just want to, because you're going to dispose of it later, or you're going to give it to a friend, or you don't want to spend the extra money on a hardcover. Or you might want an audio version because you're going to go on a long trip. You're traveling to Melbourne on business, and you just like to listen to it while you're driving. Or you want to read it as an ebook. And so what happens is you're looking at it later. And so I think book retailing in the future will be all about making all those possibilities of consuming it available, and then being able to have, especially in our case, being able to, if you're going to order a physical version, to be able to have it delivered very, very quickly and have fantastic range. There is going to be more of that print on demand. So books that used to go out of print will no longer go out of print. So there'll be a lot more products available because you can just print books now one by one, and therefore people don't need to hold stock. And the idea of something going out of print is going to be less and less. As well.
For me, the love of books outside of the touch, the feel, the smell, all that kind of stuff is the handing on of a book to someone else. I love doing that, and that's why I love the physical book. I wonder whether one of the biggest threats to your business, I don't know how far down the track, but is it virtual reality? Is it the device like the Kindle or the iPad being able to present a book in such graphic, unbelievable depth and detail that it becomes an experience unto itself?
Well, that's why we sell ebooks ourselves. So our ebook platform, which we built for ourselves, can deliver that kind of content. Because what happens is the publishers who are creating that unique IP for themselves deliver it in a specific file format that anyone who sells ebooks can then resell it onto the customer.
Yeah, right. Tony, I've loved chatting to you. Some wonderful insights into a wonderful industry. Just to finish up, a couple of fun questions. What book has made you the most money?
Ooh, I can tell you in the last Christmas that we just had is Elf on the Shelf. Elf on the Shelf, it's an American phenomenon. It's a mother and two daughters built this business a number of years ago, and they've just grown and grown and grown, and you buy it in a little box, you get a little elf, and it comes with its own birth certificate, and the family then creates this family kind of game around the elf. And,
it's not even a book.
So that was huge. We sold. It's a pack. It's a little. It comes in a little pack. That was massive.
What does that say about the Booktopia business? If Elf on the Shelf it's not a book, but that's the thing that's made you the most money of recent years?
it's hard to say what the interesting thing for me is when I first got involved in the book industry, I was always stunned that when the publishers came around to see us, and in the early days, of course, we just got the standard reps. Now, of course, the size, we have national strategic account managers who look after us. But in the beginning, they came around, and all they did was they would tell me about the new books that were coming out this month. That's what excited them. We've got this book, we've got that book. And because that's how the publishing industry works. And I could see that To Kill a Mockingbird had sold every single month for 50 years. And I was more interested in the backlist. I knew, like when you think about How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Positive Thinking, Good to Great, great business books that have just sold, all the Malcolm Gladwell stuff, sold. And so I really enjoyed it. Like I remember working when I was allowed to work in the distribution centre in our old place, is that I was working one Christmas and I had to go to a shelf and I picked Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Now, I just brought a smile to my face. Once again, someone was buying a book that was written decades and decades ago, and they're going to read it and they're going to hopefully be empowered to change their lives. So it's all that kind of stuff. Dr. Seuss, just, all those kind of kids' books that keep selling over and over again.
Well, that's like, I do still go to a video store down near our beach house, and, there's the new releases, but then there's the staff recommendations. And I go to staff recommendations, and they could be 50-year-old films, I think there's something to be said there. What about a book that's sort of come out of nowhere, like a Smoky that you'd gone, oh, my God, didn't expect to sell that many?
Well, I mean, obviously 50 Shades of Grey was that book, and it went absolutely nuts because it was really badly written.
Have you read it?
And I'm not the one. I've never read it.
No, neither have I.
I'm just talking about what others have said about it.
I'm waiting for 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, that's right. And so it just sold and sold and sold. So I think they're interesting ones. What I like though, I can see because when I walk through and I do my tours through the warehouse, we've got books like the Australian Police Officers Exam Book. Woo. And I can see the numbers are moving, ticking over all the time, just ticks over. But you know that a local bookshop is not going to hold that in stock because it's just not relevant to their area. But we have all those kind of books that are ticking over and over, and I think that's really exciting. And I know we have to wind up, and I was just looking at a few notes that I'd made before we started this session.
Thank you.
And the one thing we didn't talk about was philanthropy. And what's been very important to us is our ability to be able to give back. So we donate to Indigenous literacy, other literacy projects. We donate to Readers Festival, like we sponsor Readers Festivals, Writers Conferences. We get involved as much as we can in the book industry. And that, I think, is an important message because readers are quite strong-minded people, generally, people who are very passionate about books. And I think that if they know that Booktopia is doing the right thing by the money that they're giving us, that we're giving back, I think if, for those that are listening, if you haven't got some sort of philanthropic program happening that's relevant to your business, it's like for us when someone comes to me and says, look, the other thing is we only focus on Australia at the moment. So because we're an Australian company, it's only Australian projects. So if there's a reading project in Nepal, I'm sorry, we're just focusing on Australia. We haven't got Australia sorted out yet. There's still illiteracy here, so we're focusing on that. And people understand. But if someone comes to me about some other fundraising project, because in Fiji there was the huge cyclone, we just say, look, that's not what we're focusing on books right now. And I think it's very, very important to have that on your site and let people know that you're doing it and sending out your emails with your email marketing and just sharing that with your customers is really important too.
Well, I think you just answered my earlier question, which was about celebrating the wins of where you've got to. I think that right there is the celebration of being able to give back to the extent that you do. Well done. Hey, Tony, love it, mate. I know you are Paul Greenberg of National Online Retailers Association, who's a friend of this show, speaks very highly of you. I know that you love seeing other online businesses prosper and generally businesses in Australia prosper. So thank you for sharing your insights. Listeners, booktopia.com.au is the website. Tony, can listeners reach out to you on Twitter or somewhere, some social media channel?
Normally through LinkedIn.
Aha. Good. Tony Nash, is it on LinkedIn?
Yeah, Tony Nash, Booktopia. You do a search for Tony Nash, Booktopia, LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll find me. And I get a lot of requests every day of people wanting to connect, and they send me messages, and I most of the time can get back on the same day.
Good on you, Tony. Thank you, mate.
All the best.
Well, there you go, team. Tony Nash, booktopia.com.au. Do hit him up on Twitter. And I want to share my top six attention grabbers, because there was so much gold in what he had to share with you. These are brought to you by Key Person of Influence, whose one-day brand accelerator not to be missed, although Brisbane is sold out. Grab a seat over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. And netregistry.com.au/Timbo if you want those exclusive listener offers to help you get your marketing sorted online. Because remember, team, you are who Google says you are. Now, my top six attention grabbers. Number one, take heed of the 4 points Tony made that will lead you to being on page one of Google for some keyword searches that are relevant to your business. If you want to find out a little bit more about the detail of that, then take a listen to episode 262, where I chat with Rand Fishkin of Moz. That is SEO gold right there. Attention grabber number two. While we're at it, size does matter on the internet. The more pages your website has, the better. That's where helpful marketing kicks in, right? Because it encourages you and shows you how to create more pages on your website. If you want to know how, buy the Boomerang Effect over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Attention grabber number three, focus on sales, not the bills. Have a mindset of abundance. Love that one. Number four, embrace the entrepreneurial mindset. Take an attitude of bring it on. And in doing so, clip the highs and the lows. I like that. Yes, I sort of like it. Like, I probably don't clip the highs and the lows enough, but Tony likes to get rid of the roller coaster ride and level it out, and I respect that. And number five, consider integrating a philanthropic program into your business, and in doing so, make it strategically relevant. So Booktopia is helping improve the literacy levels of underprivileged Australians, and that's completely strategically relevant to what Booktopia is all about. I said I had top six. I've only got a top five. I'll add a sixth. Read more. Now, your biggest takeaway, I would love to know what it is. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com /301 and leave a comment in the show notes. Stephen Denny once said, if dogs don't like your food, the packaging doesn't matter. I love that quote. Love dogs. I love my little dog, Mr. Charlie Bucket. He got a mention in my book. He's pretty happy about that. On that page where you thank people, I wrote a little note to my family, included him. Anyway, I digress. Hey, listener feedback. This one, left on iTunes by Mad Mumsy. Long-time listener, Mad Mumsy. Thank you. She says, Timbo rocks, 5 stars. Probably doesn't talk like that. Love my hit at Timbo and Small Business Big Marketing Show. His interview style is entertaining, informative, and opens up the guest in ways in that they learn from him too at times. Oh, thank you. I did give Daniel Flynn a few marketing tips last week. Hope he didn't mind, last episode. I'm sure taking on his ideas, they benefit from it. Here we go. His dad jokes always bring a smile. Oh, bless. Thanks, Mad Mumsy. I'm not sure they bring a smile to everyone, but geez, they bring a smile to me. But most importantly, I continue to be inspired and learn marketing GOLD every week. I am sharing a link to episode 295 to a small group of ladies I am helping to get online, and I am sure they will love Timbo too. Keep up the heat, says Mad Mumsy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I wish you'd left a marketing question or an email address, not an email address, a website. Then I could have given you a little bit of love, Hey, you want to get mentioned on the show? Head over to iTunes, leave a listener review along with your marketing question and your website, and I will answer it and share it on an upcoming episode. Your brand, it'll go to thousands around the world, and I get a bit of loving. Okay, team, that would about bring us to the end of episode 301. Woohoo! Woo! Plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead, though. Next week, we're joined by Adam Lippin. Now, he is a New York-based fellow that calls himself a cuddlist. Maybe the cuddlist. You see, he started a business that actually sells cuddles. Yeah, I know. Sounds weird. It isn't. He's serious. And now he's training cuddlists across America. He's also had a very unusual career progression to get to where he was. It seems to be a common theme in recent episodes. Hey, big love to both Net Registry and, big cuddle, really, to both Net Registry and Key Person of Influence for making this show possible. Be sure to use Net Registry team, please, if you need a little website or to get one found. Exclusive listener packages over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo. And grab a seat at the upcoming Key Person of Influence Business Brand Accelerator, except in Brisbane, because that's sold out, over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. I'll be heading to the Melbourne one, so hopefully I'll see you there. Thanks to Daryl Misson for never missing a beat when it comes to nailing the audio for this show. See what I did there? Yeah, I know. And to Music Man Lockie Doley for providing the beats. You can check him out over at lockiedoley.com. Hey, if you need a speaker for an upcoming event, timreid.com.au. I'm all yours. Got a couple of speaking jobs this week up in the Yarra Valley. Looking forward to that. Until next week, I am Timbo Reid. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.